Hello, beautiful souls. I am so excited for today's lesson. So, today we are going to talk about not quitting. So, we've been talking about persistence, we've been talking about motivation. We're learning all these tools. Now we have to learn how to other things to do instead of quitting, because so often we quit when we lose our motivation, when we lack energy, all of these things, and we get frustrated and then we feel like we have to start all over. Okay, so today I want us to really just tap in and just tap into to finish what you're starting, or realizing like maybe quitting is the best choice. Like sometimes, depending on what it is, quitting may be the best choice. Like if you're thinking about toxic relationships, or toxic food, or if you look at these things, there's certain things that we do need to quit, but then there's other things that we need to continue to be persistent in. So today we're going to go over some amazing tips to help you decide, like, hey, should I quit or not? Like, what should I be doing here? And then if the answer is no, you don't need to quit, we need to keep moving, then we're going to talk about some strategies for you to help you overcome the desire to quit any project prematurely. Okay. So I am going to pull up my little cheat sheet so I can stay on task and not give y'all a 40-minute lesson. I know some of y'all appreciate that. However, others are y'all are like, hey, give me my 10, 20 minutes and let me roll. Like I ain't got all day to be sitting here listening to you. So let's jump in it. Okay. So the reason I want to really talk about this is that, again, like I've stated several times before, I have spent my existence on this earth studying human behavior, therapy, emotions, how it affects our mind, how it affects our body, like all of those things. And one of the things that I really spent a lot of time studying is successful people, and what successful people have that the rest of us would quit on. And when I say success and successful people, understand that looks differently for others. So yes, there's times that I can go back and look at my life and I'm like, okay, I've had a lot of success in my life, even though I may have not realized it at that point in time. But there have been times where I've been extremely successful. And when those things happen, guess what I didn't do? I didn't quit. Like when I was going to school, when I was a single mother working a full-time job, going to night school to get my bachelor's degree, I didn't quit, even though when I, especially when I went to get my master's, my son now still talks about how devastating it was for watching me go through my thesis. Like he remembered how as soon as we'd get home from school and he'd do his homework and I'd get him ready for bed, I would be at my typewriter or computer from 8 o'clock at night until sometimes 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd get up, go to sleep, be up at 6, take him to school, go work all day. And, there were times that I had night classes. So, it was hard, but I didn't quit because I knew that having that degree would have given me the opportunity and open doors for me that not having that degree would give me. And at that point in time, the most important thing for me was to be successful as a mother, to ensure that my son had a place to sleep, food to eat, because I didn't have those things growing up. So to me, they were successful. So Here's the thing. Your success is tied to your ability to keep working after you have the urge to quit. Do you know how many nights I wanted to quit? Do you know how hard it was some days to be trying to navigate through this? But that is when I realized, like even now, quitting is a negative habit and it's often learned at a young age. Learn how to continue making progress no matter how strong the urge to quit grows. So if you go back and look at your life and you observe what you watch from your parents or any adults that are around you, we learn certain behaviors from observing our children or our parents. My granddaughter is at the age of 3, and her favorite word is why? Why? Why, Nana? Why? Why do you do this? Why do you do? Because they're learning. Them observing us, loving ourselves, taking care of ourselves, not quitting, they're learning those behaviors. But if they observe us always exhausted, always taking care of everybody else, not taking care of ourselves, not eating healthy, not sleeping, not doing all these things, they learn that. If they see us not continuing to do things and we quit, they learn to quit. So the first thing we need to realize is we need to really look into this and say, okay, what reasons make us feel like quitting in the first place? Like, why do you quit? What is it that makes you quit? And so the first one that I have written here is we lack energy, just plain and simple. A lack of energy isn't just a reason one might quit a marathon. It's also a common reason for quitting other things in our life. Here's the thing. Exhaustion can be physical or mental. And to help counteract your exhaustion, what do we need to do? We need to get a full night's sleep. We need to get better control over our schedule. We need to streamline our life. We need to eat more nutritious foods. And we need to learn how to relax. And as you can see today, I just put in a new set of Invisalign, and it's like every time I put them in, it's like Mondays are my days. It's like they don't quite connect. It like takes them a day or two. So probably hear my words not sounding very good because I feel like I do have something in my mouth, but it's more apparent today. So any apologies as y'all hear that. So let's go back. I know so many of my students and so many of my clients say, yeah, but I can't sleep at night. Okay, what can you do to get a full night's sleep? Number one, turn your phones off. Stop watching TV late at night. Get off of the blue light. Blue light keeps us up. Okay, so don't be laying in the bed watching TV. Don't be on your phone. Meditation. If you learn to meditate and quiet your mind, then that helps with sleeping. Okay, now typically we don't sleep because of what? We're stressed out, we're full of anxiety, we're full of stress, and we're not healthy. And so if we get better control over our schedule, like what our day looks like, how it goes, then guess what? Not only are we getting better control of our schedule and our time, we're also streamlining our life. And it teaches us how to relax. Like the more we streamline life and the more we're getting accomplished, then we're naturally going to relax because we don't have this thing in the back of our head that's saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, don't forget this, got to do this. Oh, don't do that, or you're attacking yourself. And what happens is when you do all these things that are negative, like not getting sleep, not having control of your schedule, your life being everywhere and chaotic, you're not eating healthy, you don't know how to relax, And guess what? No wonder you're physically and mentally exhausted, and you could be both at the same time. All right. The second reason that we typically quit is our lack of focus. Too many distractions can result in the desire to quit. Are you trying to accomplish too many other things? Some people can deal with more goals than others. If you feel overwhelmed, narrow your focus to the most important goals. So, when you work with me and you go through my programs, we focus on the 6 aspects of your life, which is your physical health, family and relationships, wealth and money satisfaction, work and career prosperity, spiritual wellness, and mental strength. And in those, you create goals for each of those levels. And if you try to do too many, you will get overwhelmed and you will quit. So I tell everyone, choose one thing that you work on, one thing out of each category. And that can be as simple as, okay, physical health. Every day you get up and work out and you eat healthy. Family and relationships. Reaching out to maybe one friend a week and just text them, or one family member, like just reaching out, nurturing the relationships. Wealth and money, like most of us have a job or most of us are on a business. Like, what are we doing to bring in money, and how do we bring in wealth, and how are we satisfied in that? Okay. Your work and your career, like what does that look like? Your spiritual, so choose one, but don't get overwhelmed by it. Because if you try to take on too much, you're going to feel exhausted and you're not going to be able to get things accomplished. Okay. It's not that important to you. Do you have a good enough reason to keep going? Why are you doing this activity in the first place? So this is why, in the very beginning of this program, I stated your why has to be big enough. So if your why is big enough, and you can go back and say, what is your reason for doing what you're doing? Then it keeps you going. The best motivation you can find is setting a good example for your children or anybody else, like within you. But the most important is when you do it, you develop self-respect and you find a good enough reason to continue. Understanding the reasons you feel the desire to quit, whether it's a bad job or a horrible diet, there are times we all consider quitting. However, quitting isn't always a choice, an averse choice. Like, that's not always the best choice. Okay. So I really want you to dig into this. Make sure that you're focused and make sure you know your why. Because guess what? The more you commit to you, the more you continue to love you, the more you continue to do for you, then the more self-respect and self-acceptance and self-love that you have for yourself. And guess what happens when you do all that? You develop consistency and discipline because you're your priority. Okay. All right. Now, we have systematically believe and been taught that quitting is the same thing as failure. Okay. But if we go back to the beginning of this video, I talked about that some activities or relationships aren't worth continuing. It's important to arrive at a decision to quit or continue consciously rather than making a reflexive decision. Okay. Now, how do we avoid quitting prematurely? Number 1, hit the pause button. Most poor decisions could be avoided by taking a short pause. So when you're stressed, you feel overworked, you're overtired, you're fed up, rash decisions become the norm. Give yourself the time you need to make a wise decision. Allow your head to clear before you make a decision that changes your life. Now, here's something very important that we often forget. 99% of decisions can wait for you to hit the pause button. Okay? So if you just pause for a second and listen and look at all your options, you'll be able to make an informed decision. Because one of the things that I'm going to always say is when you're making a decision, ask yourself, was this decision made with a clear mind and with a positive outcome? Now, sometimes we have decisions that we have to make that you're like, okay, well, one is bad and one is worse. Okay, well, analyze the two. Make the wisest decision. But if you're making a decision out of stress, being overworked, overtired, fed up, desperate, how do you think that's going to work out for you? Because you're making decision out of a negative energy. It's not going to give you a positive result. It's just that damn simple. Like, I have no other way to say it other than that. If negativity is the reason in creating your decision, if that's what you're basing it on, then you're not going to be happy with that decision you make. Okay. Number 2, view the situation objectively. Okay. Try to be objective and weigh the situation carefully. Enlist the help of a friend if necessary. It can be easier to evaluate someone else's situation accurately than your own. Now, let me pause here for a minute. Make sure whoever you're enlisting help from is someone that is positive and honest. Okay. The beauty in the group that we have, the program that we go through, is we're each other's accountability partner. This week, we all came together because there was a person that was going through something that was extremely hard and difficult. And instead of her suffering on her own, she reached out to us and was like, hey, I need y'all's guidance. We all hopped on a call on a Saturday to support her and to help guide her through what she was going through. You want to know why? Because we became her trusted family. That's what our group does. That's what working with us, with me, does. We create a safe environment, because sometimes talking to your family or your friends, you're afraid of the judgment that they're going to give you, because we have seen where we were open and vulnerable with people and they came back and used our vulnerability to attack us when they felt some kind of way. But when you're in a community where it's safe and everybody, and this is the beauty, is we've all watched somebody come from the depths of hell to get to where they are. And when you've been there and you all started at the same place, guess what? There is no judgment. We can't judge you because we all were broke down. I like to call this like boot camp. It's a mental boot camp, because what happens is, and it's a life boot camp. When you go to boot camp, when I joined the military, their number one goal and objective was for me to unlearn everything I've ever been taught. That's the same thing that we do here, except the difference is we're not changing your mind to be a killer, which is what the military does. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's essentially what the military has to do. You're defending our country. So you have to learn to remove all of who you are, all of what they deem a weakness that can hurt you in the line of fire. When working with me and in our program, we're working on helping you remove all the things that have hurt you, but allowing you to create the vision that you want moving forward. you're learning how to defend your life to keep you safe and to keep you happy. Okay. All right. Number 3, consider the worst case scenario and think long term. Quitting is always an easy choice when you only consider the short-term ramifications. You can relieve your stress almost immediately. However, what are the long-term consequences? If you quit your job, what would happen if you can't find another one? Okay. Now, think about the long-term consequences. Yes, when I started my weight loss journey and I'm sitting here like I have almost 100 pounds to lose, and it didn't happen after a week, then yes, I would have been disappointed. However, I know that if I eat well every day, if I drink my water every day, and if I work out every day, the long-term consequences are amazing. The long-term situation is amazing. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Reconsider quitting if the long-term consequences are too severe. A little relief now isn't worth the long-term pain. So if you're in a relationship, and this is just an example, if you're in a relationship or even a job, and if you're being abused, if you're being treated badly, if you're being whatever, and it's not safe, and the long-term consequences are too severe, then that's something you need to leave. Okay. So the other question, when you're considering the worst case scenario, who will be impacted by your quitting? Your boss, your co-workers, your family, the members of, if you're on softball team, like who would be affected if you quit? And then when you think about if you have children or whoever else is a part of your life, what message are you sending them? What would you recommend to someone else that has a similar circumstance? And if you are a parent, remember your children are always watching. So we want to be that good example. When we make a commitment, and this is something I had to learn the hard way. When for years, the battle that I've had to get this weight off and keep it off it's been a battle. Always has been. But it's not now. It's easy now. But here's the thing. When I would make a commitment and then I would voice it out loud to everybody, and then I would quit on myself, what level of trust do you think those people have in me? What level of trust did I have in myself? I didn't trust myself enough to complete it. I gave up on me. So why would they feel safe in a relationship, a friendship, a relationship, or anything? Why would they feel safe? Even my children, even though they're grown now, if they always watch me quit, what do you think they're going to do? If they didn't watch me take care of myself and choose me, then what do you think they're going to do? If my friends see that I choose everybody else over me, then what does that say about our friendship? That I'm going to hurt myself to appease them? Okay. Number 4, ask yourself if a new approach is warranted. Maybe you shouldn't quit. Maybe you just need a new plan. Not getting the results you desire isn't necessarily a sign that you should call it quits. Poor results indicate an ineffective process. Perhaps all you need to do is tweak your approach. Major accomplishments are accompanied by numerous failed attempts. I teach this in business classes. Like, hey, just because you tried something one way doesn't mean you should quit. Maybe you just need to try something else. This isn't an experiment. When you think about the people that, I don't know if this is the best example, but to some people it is. When you think about them coming out with the COVID vaccine, do you think they tried one time and it didn't work and they quit? Or did they keep testing it and keep trying new things and trying different approaches until it worked? Until they felt that if we give this vaccine, it's going to slow down the spread of the virus, or it's going to slow down the spread enough to where it's not killing people. Do you think they tried once or twice? No. They changed what they were doing, but they didn't quit. So this is the same thing I'm telling you. Like, just because the one way you were doing it didn't work, don't mean that you should quit. For me, I've gone to one-on-one trainers. I've had Weight Watchers. I've gone to several things. But then when I found the right approach, it has been easy and seamless. I just had to find the right approach that worked for me. Okay. So remember, poor results indicate an ineffective process. That's not a failure. It's just that process isn't working for you. And that is major. Okay. Number 5, ask yourself why you're considering quitting. Is it because you don't believe you can be successful? You don't have the resources you require? You do not enjoy the job, the activity, or relationship? Are you lacking the necessary time? Some reasons for quitting are better than others. Quitting a second job so you don't need so you can spend more time with your children is a good reason to quit. Ending your marriage because your spouse won't pick up his dirty socks might be a bit extreme. Okay. Always ask yourself, is there another solution besides quitting? Number 6, consider the times you're given up in the past. How do you feel about those events today? Was quitting a good idea, or do you regret it? How are you likely to feel in the future about quitting in your current situation? Sometimes it's necessary to lower your head and keep going. There are times when quitting is the best choice. However, it's not the best choice. If it's not the best choice, it's necessary to keep strong, keep going, stick with that horrible job until you have something else lined up. Give counseling a try before quitting on another relationship. Okay? Take a moment before making a hasty decision. Quitting isn't to be taken lightly. Before making the decision to quit, consider the consequences. Consult with a trusted friend or a community or an accountability partner or whatever it is, and then consider your history. In some instances, quitting is final. Avoid creating long-term challenges to alleviate stress in the short term. Give yourself the time you require to make a wise decision. Okay? All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to take the lessons from yesterday about persevering, reflect on the strategies, look at those, look at the strategies we talked about today. And what I want you to do is I really want you to take those things and I want you to go back to something that you consider was a recent episode of quitting. Mentally go back in time and apply the process that we just talked about. And ask yourself, would you have made the same decision? Because what I can guarantee is that you probably would not have made that decision. And that is okay. Because guess what? You can start over. Okay. You know, like for an example, last week I wasn't feeling good. So my body could not take in the food that was required on my meal plan. It couldn't. So we get weekly menus, and the food that was on there, my body was just like, no, we're not doing that. We don't want that. We need fresh juices. So for 3 days, all I did was juice. I didn't eat any food. I just juiced. And then on the fourth day, all I wanted was broth. I just wanted soup. But then guess what happened once I started feeling better on Friday? I was right back on it. I did not quit. I just, for those few days, I stopped for a minute. I paused because my body was saying we need something different. And those things are okay. But what happens is so often we start something, we don't get the short term feel that we need, so we stop. And that's not what is good for us. That would not be what was best for me. So go back, take your time, and please make sure you look back at this with no judgment. You didn't know better then. You know better now. So don't go back and look at it with judgment. Don't beat yourself up. Don't criticize yourself. Take a moment and just really look at it and say, hey, could I have made a different choice knowing what I know now? And moving forward, when I have decisions, how do I do with this? Now, the beauty in this is I am going to copy my notes and put them into the portal. So if you want to go back and look at these strategies at any point in time, you will have access to it. And for those of you that are not into the portal, the link will be in this video, so you can actually go in and download, and you can get this whole month's worth of lessons in one place. All right. I love you all. I'm excited. I'm going to hop off, and then I'm going to record tomorrow's, because tomorrow I'm at a big speaking engagement and I will be speaking and presenting all day, and I will not be able to record tomorrow's lesson in time because I am trying to stay consistent with making sure they go out every day at the same time, because I have certain people that are watching them like clockwork. So I do not want to miss that opportunity. So I'll see you beautiful souls on the next module. Have a great